I think prevention is actually quite hard for professional police officers to do in terms of stopping something from ever occurring, that field of primary prevention. Because you're not going to have, and nor do we want, a police officer in every room in every house, let alone every street corner. You don't want that. So I think the capacity for police to prevent these crimes from happening in the first place, it's an unpopular opinion, but it's going to be quite limited. I know that the police do have a role in some really valuable programs like the White Ribbon Project. And I'm not devaluing or discounting their place in that. But the real, I think, going back to what I said at the start, if the influence is cultural, then prevention has to be cultural as well. So no matter what your background is or the circles that you move within, being able to call out gendered violence, because an incident of gendered violence, I would argue, does not occur in isolation. An incident of gendered violence is either an escalating pattern of behaviour or it's an entrenched pattern of behaviour that is simply continuing. And so, you know, if you're out at a social function and a friend talks to their partner in a disrespectful or a belittling way, that primary prevention occurs right there for someone to say, mate, don't do that. That simple act will disrupt that pattern of behaviour. If I go back to what I think was your original question about what does a professional in your area or what does your organisation do about prevention? Overwhelmingly, the police, their involvement in prevention comes under that secondary and tertiary heading. So that is where I know when I take a report, my first and foremost job is to ensure the safety of that victim. Are they going to be safe when they leave the police station? Are they going to be safe wherever they stay tonight? Are they going to be safe until they get to court? Are they going to be safe after that? So those are all the kinds of, you know, when we say, are they going to be safe? Obviously the overriding question is, they've told me about this terrible thing that's happened. I don't want that to happen again. So in child protection, it was generally a little bit easier because a child would have a guardian and a guardian would be invested in their safety. So if I said to a mum or a grandmother or something like that, I know I'm using some particular terms there, I'll come back to that, but if I was to say to someone, you need to make sure they're not around their dad or their uncle or whoever the person is, generally you would have someone who goes, I understand why, and I absolutely will protect this child. In the realm of adult victims of gendered violence, that becomes a little bit harder because we're fully formed adults and we have all of the emotions and background and baggage that we all carry with us. You know, a victim of an abusive relationship will tend to try and leave several times before they actually make that final break. At no point is that a failure. It is a progression. It's an evolution. So the role of police is to work with each individual victim. And as I say, it's generally a lot easier in child protection because you've got other partners invested in that person's safety as well. Adults, it's a little more difficult because we have all of those vagaries of relationships that we all have to navigate. We're all social beings. And I think if at that secondary level, what do we do to prevent violence is to have those legal processes be robust enough to have some weight to them. We would always say if you give someone an AVO, it's literally a piece of paper. It's not going to stop someone kicking a door in. But that piece of paper carries the weight of the criminal justice system behind it. AVOs need to be enforced. Reports about their breaches need to be taken seriously. The AVOs themselves need to be structured in such a way that is workable for victims of violence to make that, you know, work in their lives with the family that they operate within, the children that they're raising if they are. All of those considerations need to come into account.